Okay, so welcome. I'm going to turn this over to Kathy Queenan from M&T Bank to talk briefly about M&T and their product NOTA, and then we'll have a demo from NOTA directly. Kathy, it's all yours.
Great, thanks, Donna. Yes, Kathy Queenan, VP and Senior Branch Manager of the Jefferson Plaza office in Poughkeepsie, New York. With M&T Bank, I've been here about 3 years now, so we just wanted to join Jana and the Expo today for the Dutchess County Bar Association to show a specific product that we have that is a niche that we have for attorney firms. Ideally less than, and Nick pop in here if I'm giving wrong numbers, but ideally 15 or less attorneys. Bigger firms tend to have some internal software that they use, but this is really perfect for those attorney firms. Makes it much easier to manage your IOLA account, to make sure that money is going in and out or going to the proper clients, avoid any mistakes, which we know can be a huge compliance issue when it comes to IOLA accounts. So Karen Markumis, who is a business banking relationship banker, is also on the call today with us. And Nick Biardi, who is the expert in NOTA, is on and will kind of give a demonstration on how NOTA works and can help your attorney firm.
Perfect. Kathy, yeah, thank you again for the introduction. Again, this is a quick introduction for myself. Again, I'm Nick Biardi with the NOTA team. I came over from the M&T branch network. I was a manager at a branch in Buffalo the last couple of years. But more importantly, NOTA came to be really in the last year or two. M&T spent a good chunk of time reaching out to attorneys all across the M&T footprint, different practice areas, different states, different firm sizes, as Kathy mentioned, really focusing more on the solo, small firm attorneys, as she mentioned. But again, we asked what a constant pain point it was in terms of managing your day-to-day. And as you can well imagine, the management of the trust account, the IOLA, was the overwhelming answer that we were given. So with that in mind, M&T engineered this tool free of charge. You would have to have an account with M&T Bank, but again, no charge to use this platform and no charge to open up those accounts. Now, the second benefit of where we like to think we stand apart from QuickBooks or a Clio or a PC Law or any of those other platforms that I'm sure everyone's familiar with, is that everything that's filtering into NOTA, because it is directly linked into the actual trust account with the bank, is all real-time bank data. So no more guesswork on your end as to when a transfer or a deposit or a check has cleared the account. If it shows up in NOTA, you know that you're working with actual real-time bank data. So again, that's where we like to think we separate ourselves. So now going to my screen, again, this is the landing page when you sign in from trustnota.com. This is the home page. At the top left here, there's a little drop-down menu. You'd be able to see your trust account as well as the operating account that you'd have with M&T Bank. Again, if you just have the IOLA, again, that account would show. Now, in the top left here, this 82,000 number represents whatever the total balance would be in the trust account. If we scroll over to the right, this 12,000 number. Now, I'm going to come back to this, but again, this represents any check that's outstanding against the trust account. And I'll show a couple features a little bit later in the demonstration as to what we've built in there and how they get in the actual program. But again, this is keeping a running balance of any check that's outstanding. So I'll touch on that in a few minutes. Where I want to start is right here. This 39,000 number with 3 untagged transactions. So again, if you were signing in for the first time today, and say you have these 3 transactions, they're going to show up under untagged. These 2 checks and this 1 deposit. Again, imagine these are the ones that have cleared since this morning. Again, they're going to show up in NOTA on the homepage under untagged transactions. And if we scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, I have multiple tiles here, which represents any open case or client matter that you happen to be working on. And very simply, what NOTA allows you to do is tag or assign these transactions to whichever client matter or case that they belong to. Before I do that as well, there's a little box next to check and deposit. You can actually click and view an image of that check as well. So again, I can't click anything because we're in a sandbox, a test environment. But again, if there was a check that you dropped off at the branch yesterday, it clears overnight. Again, an image of that check would actually show right in NOTA. Now, for our purposes, imagine this check here for 216 that cleared overnight belongs to, say, the Charles Conway case here on the bottom right. Very simply, we're able to select the name from the drop-down menu. And when you do that, the little line comes up at the very top of the page. Again, that transaction is off the to-do list because it's now tagged. And most importantly, the funds have gone down inside the client matter and the balance has gone down accordingly. Now, same way with the deposit. So imagine this deposit you drop off at the branch yesterday. Again, if it's made up of just 1 check, you're able to simply select the name just as I just did. But in the event, which is more often the case, if you drop off, say, a large deposit made of multiple checks, or if you have, say, an ACH, like a lump sum payment come in, and you know that it should be divided into multiple client matters, NOTA allows you to do that. You simply hit the arrows here, allocate to multiple matters, and you can assign the funds accordingly. So for our purposes, say, again, 20,000 goes to this company. You can add a note if you'd like. You can type whatever you'd like here. Say the remainder goes to the Conway case. Say 20,000 there. Again, you can type whatever you'd like in these fields. Hit save. Again, those two lines come up at the very top of the page. And again, the funds have been split between the two different client matters that we selected. Now, if you're wondering how these tiles obviously get into the actual program, two different ways. And I usually, when I'm doing these demonstrations, I usually ask the attorney how many client matters they're working on at any given time. So generally for anybody that has, say, less than 20, 25 client matters, we usually recommend just doing them one at a time. You can hit add new client matter, say Brown, say Charlie Brown, matter ID. Again, this usually depends on the attorney. A lot of them are using identifiers, say an address, a date, a case number, whatever they want to use. So again, you can type whatever you'd like in this field. This is for your own organizational purposes. Hit save. And that new tile is created for us there right on the top right. And again, these obviously are going in alphabetical order. Now, for any firm that has, say, 30 or more client matters, what we've built is an import button that allows you to actually import your own spreadsheet, and we would create all the tiles for you. I just did this for one of my clients maybe a month or two ago. I think he had 130 client matters. He was able to import his own spreadsheet and went from, again, blank screen, blank canvas, if you will, to 130 different tiles added on here. So a pretty unique little tool. So it really depends, it's a use case scenario. But again, we're able to help you get these client matters actually on the homepage. Now, the benefit of having them on the bottom of the homepage is if tomorrow a deposit comes in regards to this new case, again, because it's on the bottom of the homepage, that name will appear on the drop-down menu when you go to tag a transaction. And the second benefit is, imagine if you have a case that's all settled, say there's no more transactions coming in or out, say the balance is zeroed out. If you ever wanted to archive a client matter, you'd simply hit the three dots, hit archive. Are you sure you want to archive it? Yes, we do. And that name falls off the bottom of the homepage. And if you ever needed to access it, you'd simply go to view all archive matters, and anybody you've archived would show up here. And important to note as well is NOTA is going to store this all digitally for you for 7 years, which is great just in the event of any random audit, God forbid an issue with the grievance committee. Again, everything is stored for 7 years. Again, this is built alongside the bar associations, the grievance committees. So as Kathy mentioned and alluded to, again, our goal is obviously to keep everybody compliant. All right. Now, clicking inside one of the client matters just shows some functionalities there. I'll click inside again, this case here. At the very top here, I'm going to highlight this number. This is that number I mentioned we're going to come back to from the homepage. Again, this represents any check that's outstanding against the trust account that's been specifically logged against this case. And again, I'll show in a few minutes how they actually get in there. But again, it's keeping a running total for everything that's pending against that client matter. Now, below that, under matter transactions is the easiest one to explain. Very simply, again, you have outstanding checks at the top. Matter transactions is any cleared transaction that you've tagged from the homepage to this client matter, including that check for $216 that we just tagged, that deposit that we split. Again, any notes that you may have added would show up there. And obviously notice keeping a running balance for the cleared transactions as well, which shows up right here. If you can see on my screen, again, this 36,000 number represents that number. So again, that's the total that's in that client matter. But remember, you still have these 5 or 6 checks to account for that are outstanding, which is why this number is going to show in big bold print in the top right. And again, it's taking that total matter balance minus any outstanding checks. Again, giving you that matter adjusted balance, which is the number that you want to work off of if you were to transfer funds or log a check or write a check. So on that note, again, if anybody was looking to transfer funds electronically, now this to be clear, this would be a transfer between accounts at M&T Bank. So if you had both the trust account and the operating account at M&T, you'd be able to use this function here, transfer funds. 2 things with this. Number 1, I want you to notice the simplicity of it. But number 2, there's an important security feature that I want to make sure I highlight on this demonstration. So again, if you were to transfer from the trust account, say to the operating, and you go to transfer, say 24,000, that number is going to turn red, transfers grayed out. Again, NOTA has a security feature that's going to prevent you from taking from someone else's client matter to satisfy that transaction. So again, even though you have enough funds in this hypothetical account that we're looking at, you have enough funds, there's a finite amount inside this client matter, which NOTA recognizes. So again, that security feature is going to come into place and obviously prevent any issues with commingling. Now, if you were to do a transfer, say for 2,400, again, you can add notes here if you'd like. Hit transfer. You'd simply hit confirm. I won't do it on this demonstration because it doesn't go anywhere. But again, simply hit confirm and that transfer takes place. Now, an exciting new feature that we just launched a couple weeks ago, we actually built our own check printing feature right into this program, which is, again, free of charge, no additional charge for that. So if anybody wanted to print checks directly through NOTA, again, you'd be able to hit this print check feature here, enter the information for the check, the date, check number, a payee, a dollar amount, say 2,500. You select obviously the client matter that it belongs to, fill out these fields here, hit preview and print. Now logistically, obviously the actual check stock is sitting on your printer. And again, M&T would make sure that we have the right check stock ordered for you. So again, logistically, the check is printing right next to you. This is exactly what it would look like. Hit the print button, hit next. Did your check print successfully? Yes, it did. You hit finish and log check. And again, now that outstanding check shows up right at the very top of the outstanding check log. And the benefit of that is, again, this matter adjusted balance, again, goes down accordingly. So again, it's keeping that running balance for you inside the client matter. And the second benefit, and I won't use that check that we just printed right there, but I'll use this check here for 175. Imagine, again, you wrote this check, today's Friday. Imagine you wrote this check on Monday, and overnight last night, this $175 check clears the account. NOTA is going to send you an email alert, which you can customize either daily or weekly, depending on your volume. But again, it's going to let you know that a transaction is processed through the trust account. And when you sign into NOTA, that cleared check would look just like anything else, any wire transfer or an ACH payment or anything else. It would show up as an untagged transaction. But what NOTA has in place, it's called our smart tag feature. It's going to recognize three things: the check number, the dollar amount, and the payee. And this little suggested box is going to come up. Again, it's going to recognize which client matter that cleared check belongs to. And all you would have to do as the user, again, I can't do it because we're in a sandbox environment, doesn't go anywhere. But again, all you'd have to do as the user is simply hit this green check mark, and this check falls off the home page, drops down inside the client matter. And most importantly, this check would then be disappeared from the outstanding check log because now it's a clear transaction. So I like to highlight that feature on every demonstration I do. Again, just logistically, if you have 3 or 4 checks that you've printed, as they start to clear the account, assuming that you've logged them the way I showed, again, that smart tag feature is going to enable you to reconcile with the click of a button. All right. The last thing I will show is if you wanted to run a report specifically for this case or client matter, hit a generate matter report in the top right. And you get a full breakdown, again, whatever the starting balance was when you took on the case, total number of transactions, outstanding checks, matter adjusted balance, so on and so forth. Again, the rest of the report mirrors that last screen that we were on. Outstanding checks at the very top with any notes that you may have added. And then below that under activity details, again, any clear transaction that you've tagged from the homepage with any notes that you may have added. And again, as mentioned, NOTA will store this all digitally for you for 7 years. But as a best practice, most of our attorneys are printing this once a month or once a quarter. So again, you can export that as a PDF, and you can also search by date range as well. Now that report was specifically for that case or client matter. If you want to run a report for the entire trust account, you'd go back to the home page, hit generate report in the top right. And this is going to show up with a reconciliation report showing the adjusted trust balance. Client ledger balance is going to show any of those names on the bottom of the home page or whatever the balance is inside that client matter. And lastly, under outstanding payments, again, any outstanding checks and which client matter they belong to. For my demo environment, again, they all belong to the same client. And same way as that last report, again, you have the ability to print that as a PDF and save for your own records. Now, the last thing I will discuss is that we do have integrations with LawPay, with QuickBooks Online, which you can see here. Now, the integration that we have with QuickBooks Online is specifically geared towards check printing. So a lot of our real estate attorneys are using QuickBooks Online to print their checks. Again, in the event that it sounds like your firm, again, any information that you enter into QuickBooks Online when you're printing those checks would come into NOTA and look exactly like this, right at the very top of the homepage. And again, if you do not have QuickBooks Online, again, this feature wouldn't even show up for you. But again, we do have integrations with LawPay, QuickBooks Online, and one with Clio that we're working on actively that should be live in the next couple of weeks. So again, with that, I'll turn it over to back to Kathy. I'd love to get any questions, any feedback. That'd be great.
Sure. So Jenna, I don't know if there's any questions. I can just quickly speak to a couple of the attorneys that I know that I have brought on board for NOTA are extremely happy with the service. Some of them were still using kind of old school ledger books. And when they decided to go over to this, it just made life much easier, makes it's more efficient for the person that's doing the reconciling of the IOLA ledger. And I haven't had anything but good comments about this system, and that they were very happy to come on board. We've had a couple of existing clients use it, as well as quite a few prospects come on board after taking the demo with Nick, come on board as well.
I mean, it looks great to me. I kind of want it. I don't really need it, but I kind of want it because it looks it looks good. It does a lot. It has a lot of features, and I mean, I think even since the last time we did this demo back in the end of 2020, there's been a couple new features that have been added. So
yes,
it looks like it's something you guys are constantly, adding to and making better.
Yep.
Yes, and something actually that Nick and I were talking about this morning that I just found out about, and Nick can speak to it a little bit better, is we did come in. So NOTA is a free service to our M&T clients, but even going a step further, Nick mentioned that there's also some special pricing on operating accounts and wires, which attorneys obviously do quite a few of. So there's some special pricing now built in on the bank side if you use NOTA.
Even more so now. I mean,
correct.
People are doing. I mean, my parents just bought a house and it was there was no closing.
No closing, right.
Yep.
Like there was a closing, but not the way that you and I did it. We bought our homes,
There was no closing table, right?
There was no closing table. It was all done remotely. Virtual. And I think, my opinion, some of this stuff is never going to go away.
Right.
Because it is convenient and people are going to want, so to have this type of system translates much better to a virtual than like, okay, we're going to do this on Zoom and then we have to go to the old fashioned, ledger book and do it. So yeah. All right.
Nick, did you want to add anything with that?